Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Outlook in the DeFi Dojo. Today is June 1st. We got a new month, new monthly candles. And what that means is we want to check our new daily pivots. That's right, every month you get new daily pivots, and if you just turn those on, you'll see we just started brand new ones. And what do we have here? We have a pivot right at that 1036 mark. Imagine that. So this mark becomes our bear bull line for Bitcoin. Okay, if we fall below this line, we might be in trouble. As long as we stay above this line, we might go to see higher highs. Now, what does this mean? Well, we can use it, right? We can use this line to say, hey, I want to go long on Bitcoin, and if we close a daily candle, a weekly candle back below this line, then maybe we want to just get out and wait, right? So that's not very far away from here. That's 2%. And so that doesn't really give us a whole lot of risk. So this is a great position to be in. If you're a Bitcoin bull, this is a great place to try to go long, and you have a 2% risk here. If it falls below, you can just cut it for a 2% loss. If we're right, well, we can potentially head all the way up to these levels here, and then maybe even the 1.414. So from this position, that gives us a potential 21% upside. That is a great risk to reward ratio. That's like 2 to 1, right? Now, don't get like, if you are going to try this and you start seeing like big moves to the downside to begin this week, maybe you want to give it some time. I don't know, because you know how crypto can do those crazy wicks and stop you out. But that's the risk you got to decide for yourself if you want to take, right? So could try to do that. It could fall and then stay down there and then just start becoming bearish. You don't know. But what we do have is a clear level that we can use, right? Stay above this level, we're happy. Go below this level, we might need to worry. If we go to Ethereum, kind of the same deal, except its level's sitting right around 2380 to 2400. And so I've been kind of dabbling with some Ethereum every time it gives us one of these wicks down towards that area, and I've been buying a little bit more over the past 2 to 3 weeks. And if it does it, I'll do it again. And as long as we stay above that level, I'm happy holding Ethereum. If we look at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, you can see we bounced out of that golden pocket, which is where we took the first trade. We took it from 1380 to, gosh, I don't remember, something around 2000 to the 2100 maybe. And then since then, I took profits on that, and I've been DCAing in again now that it's kind of confirmed that it's holding up here and back inside the EMAs. Eventually what we would want to see is just a gradual move up out of these EMAs, or maybe a sharp one. Either way, we just want to stay over that 618, right around that 0.02362 mark. As long as Ethereum stays around here in reference to Bitcoin, I'm a happy holder. If we look at the altcoin market, let's go take a look at this, because this is getting a little interesting, right? So we have our bullish cross. You can see that right there. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bigger. So there's your 8 EMA crossing over your 21. That's our bullish move. And then we get our retest last week. We wicked below, and this is what I mean by, you can see those wicks below in crypto, especially, and then they come back up and close above. And that close is what's important. It doesn't really matter how far down it goes in the middle of these candles. As long as it closes above the mark that you're referencing, then things are still good. We did close below the 8 EMA, so that is a little worrisome. And maybe it wants to just cross these back bearish and head lower. I don't know. Crypto's a funny beast. Another thing to notice is we're still in the greed FOMO zone, right? So as long as we hold that pivot and that 786, which are in the same place, this gives us a clear level to try long and try to take this higher. Now, if altcoins are going to have an alt season, this could potentially be the best possible entry you'll see. It could also just be the beginning of a new downtrend, right? We don't know. But what we have is a very, very small risk here. We go long on some altcoins that we like, and if we close back below this by the end of this week, next Sunday, when you come back and watch this video again, then okay, we just cut it and we take a small loss. I understand it's an altcoin, so it might be a bigger loss compared to Bitcoin or some stocks, might be 10%, 15%, I don't know. But that's a decent risk to reward ratio for an altcoin if they're going to do what they've done in cycles past and start heading way higher, right? So it might be worth the risk to reward for you to take entries here with stop losses just below. If we look at USDT dominance, this is one of the only charts that's really concerning me. Okay, so we have our all-time trend line here, which is that red line, and I've been talking about this for like a year now, it feels. But every time we hit this red line, USDT bounces higher, right? And we did get a brief period of time where it fell below, but then it reclaimed it and headed higher, and that's when we saw the big fall on Bitcoin down to the 70K region, and altcoins got demolished. And so we're bouncing on that line again. Not only that, but we're also breaking the local downtrend that we've had for almost 2 months, right? You've had this downtrend. If you're not familiar with this chart, this is stablecoin dominance. When it falls, crypto rises. When it rises, crypto falls. So if this is breaking the downtrend and wants to go bullish again and start making an uptrend, then that means crypto is likely going to keep falling. So something to keep an eye on. I'm not super confident in crypto until I see this red line break again, but with what total 3's showing me here, it might be worth the shot, right? Like, it's really hard. They're not giving us much to work with here. They're pushing everything to its extremes to potentially either just get us really excited for nothing, or to trap us, or maybe this really is it, right? So up to you to take that risk, to take that call if you want to, and as long as we have clear levels where it invalidates our trade and we can get out with not much harm, it could potentially be worth the risk. Let's see. Let's go to total 3 minus Bitcoin. So here's another potentially good indication for altcoins. We're bouncing on the 618 level. Now the theory was that we were going to go into the golden pocket, right? Because that's typically where things go. So that potential still exists for altcoins to fall further against Bitcoin. When we look at Bitcoin dominance, it's still bullish on the weekly, still making weekly new highs here since this fall over the last 3 weeks. And the idea is that we go to this golden pocket because that's where things typically go. So you be the judge. I can't call it. It's way too close. And until I get some more confirmations of maybe some Bitcoin dominance falling or USDT falling back down below the red trend line, or maybe Bitcoin trying to close some daily candles back over the 8 EMA. As you can see here, it's not quite, it's in between. So, it's in no man's land at the moment. As long as we hold 103.6, it still looks good. As long as Ethereum still holds 2370, it still looks good. And as long as ETH Bitcoin stays above that 618, then it could potentially start outperforming Bitcoin again. There's a lot of like if A then B scenarios where we just need to be careful, right? And don't get too crazy. This one here is holding the 618 for a couple of weeks in a row now. So if we look at regular total crypto market cap, which is the entire thing, we got a retest potentially here after our bullish cross. So this could potentially be the retest. We just can't see it yet because if this candle shoots up higher, then it's going to drag that 8 EMA up with it, which then could touch that. We don't know. If it falls, then that's not going to happen, obviously. You get the 21 EMA at the previous all-time high at 3 trillion. You can see that all the way back here in 2021. So really, crypto's just trying to solidify itself above last cycle's high, the entire market. So whether or not it can actually do that is the question, right? So if it can solidify itself saying, hey, I belong over 3 trillion total market cap, then okay, maybe then we can start heading up to the 4, 5, and even 7 trillion market cap valuations. But it's still trying to find its footing, I think, and I think there's still a little bit of time. The problems that I see are the obvious bearish divergence that I've been pointing out over the feels like half a year now. That's definitely trending down. Price is trending up. We don't like to see that. Looking at USDT, it's the opposite, right? So you have this price action trending down while the RSI is trending up. Could get one final push down maybe to go hit that line. It's just everything's really close. So I don't want to make a call. All I can give you are the lines to go by and say, hey, this is a good spot to try. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Please don't hold me to it. I have Ethereum right now. I might grab some Bitcoin because of this level here is very clear, and the upside potential gives us almost a 10-to-1 risk to reward ratio. And besides that, I'm going to give it one more week for total 3 to give me something that shows me it's going to like just bounce off this level. If I see a bounce this week from this level and it does not come back down underneath here, then I'm going to start looking at altcoins to try to take things higher. If we look at equities, we got S&P 500, just been stagnant since this big green candle, so we're going on our 4th week now of being in the same range. Kind of looks like a bullish pennant formation, kind of hanging out on top of the 1.618, so if it can confirm it, it's going to stay above that with these EMAs crossing bullish now, then yeah, we'll probably go see new highs. NASDAQ, same scenario. We'll see what happens when it gets back to its all-time high back here that it rejected, the 1.618. See what happens. While we're just in between these two major levels, it's very difficult to call short term. Same thing here. You got these two major levels. Once one of them breaks, we can be a little more sure we're going to head to the next one or head down to the next one here. If we look at the dollar strength, it's still very bearish and still looks like it's going to possibly head down to the 97.60 area. What happens to equities if that does happen? Anyone's guess. Usually it's bullish in a bull market if it falls. But if the economy is not looking great and there's a lot of indecisiveness, they can both fall at the same time. Everything in equities still looks like it can use a pullback to me. We haven't even retested the 8 EMA here on the weekly for the NASDAQ, and we haven't retested the 8 EMA on the S&P either. So possibly a waiting game. When we compare Bitcoin to the NASDAQ, this is a rising wedge. Every time it touches that green line, Bitcoin falls compared to the NASDAQ. So we're still holding the 8 EMA though, so that could still try to make another move back up towards that, but this is definitely divergent as well. So long game right now, NASDAQ looks better than Bitcoin just by using this chart alone. Could try to make the push to the 1.618. It's pretty close. But I wouldn't try to push for that until it at least broke above the top of the wedge. If we look at other dominances, they're not really that great. So Sol dominance, bearish on the weekly. ETH dominance, it looks very similar to the ETH Bitcoin chart in between the EMAs. Link dominance looks like garbage. AVAX dominance looks like garbage. So we're not really quite there yet with the altcoin market giving us a fully confident signal, right? It kind of just, I'm getting little clues. And so I don't want you to misinterpret this as like, hey, go buy all the altcoins right now. I just think it might be worth dabbling a little bit. I'm personally not buying any yet, again, until I see some more confirmation maybe next week. And I'll obviously report that to you when that happens. Okay, so I think that gets through it all. If anybody has any questions, chart requests, most altcoins, by the way, when I look at their weekly charts, they're still not bullish, which is kind of fascinating because total 3 barely is. But like, let's go look at like Sol, for example, on the weekly. Most altcoin charts look like this, where it looked like it was going to try to cross bullish, but then last week's candle closed back down below both of them. So these are bearish signs. And so if you see something like that on your altcoin chart, like this big bearish candle opening above the EMAs and closing below both of them, I don't like that. I don't like seeing that. So I would need to wait some more to see if it can get over. Sol, for example, still needs to clear this green arrow. I've been covering it for quite a few weeks. Needs to get over 177.57 on the weekly in order to see higher. If I see that, I'll jump in. Until then, I'm waiting for something to tell me this market is over, and it's not quite there yet. Let's look at AVE. Okay. See, that looks good. That's a weekly bullish cross. Might be looking for some sort of retest here. it's one of the few altcoins that is bullish on the weekly right now. So bring me more charts like this. It might hold that 618 around 239.57. That's the support. If that support fails, then expect the 8 EMA, maybe the 21 EMA. Stop loss needs to be just below those. And again, when I say stop loss just below the 21 EMA on the weekly, I don't mean having a limit order for that. You can if you want, but you might get wicked out. What I personally do is it's just a mental stop loss. And I don't even really look at it during the week. What I care about is where this weekly candle closes. And I'm not going to know where that closes until next Sunday night at this time, right? If I come in here next Sunday night at this time and I see that the candle closed below that 21 EMA, that's just going to prompt me to go sell, right? That's my mental trigger. Because it could wick all the way down here by Wednesday, and then by Sunday night again, we're all the way back up here, because that's what crypto does. So I don't let those wicks stop me out on an actual limit order. NVIDIA. Yep, it's right here. So I've been watching it. I'm still bearish on it, to be honest with you. This is the seller's zone, so until it can clear that, I'm still remaining bearish. And I do still hold my 130 put on it for June 20th. And I'm really hoping to finally see some downside here. I think the way it's opening so far, we are down about 1%. So good start to the night. Overnight sessions really can't be trusted too much though, so we'll see what happens in the morning. This looks like a distribution to me, so I'm not buying into the hype. You can clearly see 1, 2, 3, we're on our 4th hump. So we're approaching potentially phase E. We're in phase D right now for the Wyckoff distribution, and I definitely expect this to come down. It fell out of its rising wedge a long time ago. That is a bearish pattern, especially when it falls out. So really we're just getting a relief bounce so far off of that downtrend, and then it likely is going to continue sideways and eventually make its way down. You can see that the RSI is in neutral, and I also believe the MACD is bearish, so I don't think this is just going to fly straight up from here. That's been a nice bear market rally, so to speak, but yeah, I'm not a buyer here. I'm a seller here for sure. Microsoft. Okay, so let's see if we go here to here. So it got through its greed FOMO zone, and this is definitely, oh, why'd that move? This is definitely bullish again on the weekly. However, it's just been like floating up here after the cross for several weeks, and eventually some sort of pullback will happen that could give you a better entry than where we are now. I don't like buying anything that's this high above the weekly EMAs. You can see in the past it's actually never here, maybe. Yeah, it looks higher now than it was here. So just whenever it gets that high above those EMAs, there's always some sort of retrace, so it's not worth FOMOing at the moment. It's not even bullish yet on the RSI, like the average is still below 50, so it would not surprise me to get a hefty pullback at some point here. But if you're a holder, obviously, you don't want to sell Microsoft. It's a long-term winner for sure. I just wouldn't be a buyer right now. I'd be waiting. TIA, man, I haven't heard that one in a while. What's that doing? I think the last time I charted this, it was in a rising wedge at like $13, and I was like, this is going down. Yeah, so that was like here. And nope, that's definitely not something that would be worth buying. We're back down at its original launch price. Yeah, no bueno. That's definitely a sell. FET. Okay, so it didn't do what Sol did. It didn't close below the 8 EMA, but as you can see, these are still definitely bearish. Could be a top. So like these are all the things that are making me very suspicious about altcoins. Like while Total 3 is looking like it's a bullish retest and we're holding that 786, whenever I look at any altcoin, they look like this, where those EMAs might roll over, and that wouldn't be good. That would mean more downside. So I want to wait for these to actually catch the 8 EMA and use it as support and actually make a move higher. You can see a clear level here that needs to close candles over, and it's where all those bodies of the tops of the candles are. So make a mark on the highest one, go to the daily, and if you can get a daily close above that level, great, this could go higher. Looking at the daily, that's turning bearish, so it's not a good sign. So there's a lot of like, hey, this looks good over here as a whole, but then when you start looking at the individual altcoins, they're not really giving me the same vibe. Meta. Oh, did I pick the wrong one? This one. So yeah, very similar to what the S&P and NASDAQ look like, getting that cross bullish now, and what we're waiting for is maybe a test bullish on the 8 EMA, a pullback to try to enter on. Doesn't always happen. So it's in the middle of its take profit zone. 955 would be the top probably if it was going to continue higher. And we'll just have to see. It's bullish, starting to become bullish again. See that MACD? It recovered, so that's bullish, and the RSI is almost there. It's at 48.93. If you see that start moving into the 50 territory, then this thing can move. It can move higher. So that could be your confirmation here. Wait for that RSI average to move over 50. Nike. Can we bring Michael Jordan back? Can we get him hot again? Because this is looking bad. I mean, it was a great run for several decades, and so we're just getting a couple decade pullback. So yeah, I think I covered this before. If it hits this 382, I'll definitely buy a lot. And I am a holder. I think I bought somewhere around 85. So it's not great at the moment, but again, it was a long-term commitment, and I will buy more if we hit this 38.27 mark. Average down quite a bit. I don't think Nike's going anywhere. I believe in it in a longer term sense. So it's not like I don't mind holding it. But again, I'll buy more there if it comes to it. This MCI. This thing's crazy. Look at that. So that gives a nice place to try because of how that's just almost crossing bullish, right? Let's see what it's doing here pre-market real quick. I'm curious. So we're down to 39.55. All right, so it's still currently over those EMAs. Missed its last two earnings. And doesn't have earnings again for a while. So 21 EMA on the daily is a nice place to try for a long. Stop loss would probably need to be underneath that 38.74 mark for any short-term trades. If you're going long-term, then you try long on this cross right now, and if you close a candle back below, then you get out. And so for SMCI, that could potentially mean like 15% one direction or the other within a week's time, because these candles are very large. Quite a bit of risk. Let's see what kind of trend lines we have here. Ugh, I don't like the whole thing. Why am I in a 3 month? Where would I even take that from? I guess that spot. So let's go from here, here. Okay, 382, bounce, it's great. So sign of a strong trend. I mean, there's nothing here that I see that would tell me like this is not a good idea to try. I think it is a good idea to try. You have that clear $38 mark. which is the main 236, as well as the EMAs in the same location. That's what we call confluence right there. That is your baseline. You long over this and you cut it and short below it. And that's as simple as it gets. Okay, do we have any other chart requests, questions, comments? It's your chance to ask me anything. If not, I am going to end it. Going once, going twice. All right, thank you all so much. If you like these kinds of videos, please click like and subscribe. The Discord community is in the comment section below, and come join us. We have a lot of fun. All right, have a good one. Bye.